Putting an end to workaholic tendencies. By definition, I am a mild workaholic. What started out as an eagerness to build experience in my field became an escape from the times I felt I did not have a solution for a hurtful situation in my life. I spent years overbooking my schedule to avoid being alone with my pain and my disappointment. That pattern has now established a habit of overworking, which unfortunately sways my perspective so much that I allow work to take precedence over life experiences. I tell myself that by working, I am being productive, and somehow I expect the positive outcome of productivity to erase the negative, drowning feeling of whatever emotion I am avoiding. Even as recent as last fall, I was working 7 days a week with some of my shifts being as long as 14 hours a few days in a row. In part because I love what I do and there is a certain level of short-term sacrifice that is needed to excel and climb the corporate ladder. But the addiction to that level of work is far from healthy, especially in a long-term picture. I am often reminded that there is yet to be a person who on their deathbed said, "I wish I had worked another day." Usually the regret is of them not having been present in their family life because they were consumed at work. While I was away in the mountains this past September, cheers to Banff and BC, I saw a sign at a cottage we were renting that read, "Don't get so busy making a living that you forget to make a life." It hit me, and 2 months later, I am still thinking of the impactful message that silly sign carried. It is as if the sign put a mirror before me and forced me to realize that though I justify working as much as I do, often saying I am building a lifestyle we want, I am in return not really experiencing life as fully as I could be. I don't get to enjoy downtime because my absence at home means my to-do list grows and grows. I often battle this tension that builds from not having the energy to work on the things God is calling me to because I am knowingly overworking elsewhere. It is a vicious cycle that is created and one that is hard to break without feeling like a failure or like I am making a financial mistake. It is a mentality that is hard to part from, especially since a big part of our society prizes individuals who are willing to give up everything for their work. We are sought after by headhunters, are remarked for our devotion to growing our companies. Just look at doctors, lawyers, and the business world. Workaholics are a prized possession. I recall the first time I said no to a shift I was called in for. The guilt was so heavy and the fear of being put lower on the call list was so real that I internally beat myself up for it even though my body was so run down, it needed a day of rest. Last year, my husband had to hold me down in bed so that I would take a sick day because I was trying to reason going into work despite having laryngitis and having absolutely no voice. So not only was it my birthday, I also wouldn't have been able to do my job properly since what I do is speak all day to patients. And man, the first time I booked a week off work without coverage to go visit my grandmother, whom I hadn't seen in 4 years, I was in internal turmoil. I reached a point where I literally did not want to rest. Even my days off were scheduled, and if I did not complete the list I had to do on those days off, I felt like I was an unproductive failure. The silly thing is that when my body finally forced me to a day off, nothing bad happened. Sure, staff aren't always pleased to be short a hand, but everyone goes on managing their caseloads, and doctors move on with their clinics and their schedules. Even with our home, so a bit of dust accumulates, and I have to do 2 loads of laundry on the weekend instead of 1. So what? Nothing bad happens when we stop to rest. Actually, a lot of good stuff happens within ourselves when we finally stop. These realities are what brought me to recently make a drastic move in my career and willingly cut my income. My mind races with anxiety at times, but I am choosing to take an active step to help myself help my marriage, and be obedient to the things God is calling me to pursue. There is a reason why Jesus set the example of observing the Sabbath. It is something we so deeply need as beings in all areas of our lives. We make better decisions when we are rested. We are able to manage our emotions better, and we are overall more happy and more pleasant to be around. I do like how in Romans 14:5-6, Paul spoke about putting less stress on it having to be a specific day of the week and more importance on just taking a day to rest and worship God, whatever day of the week it may be. The Sabbath is also a way of us setting priorities in our life and putting our trust in God to be our provider when we make Him our priority. My goal with decreasing my work days to just 20 a month is that I'll be more rested and allow my body to be healthy. Overexhaustion and adrenal fatigue are serious consequences to overworking your body. And in some drastic cases, death has occurred for individuals that push their bodies beyond their breaking point. There is also such importance in being spiritually present and active in your everyday life. And the only way we can spiritually grow is by taking the time to dig deeper into God and our awareness of our spiritual lives. So, for the practical part, number 1, come clean. Are you a workaholic? If you're not sure, check out this link and read through some of the active tendencies of a workaholic. If you are listening to this, I will leave the link on the comments section on YouTube. It is easy to sometimes miss warning signs, especially as the devil is pretty darn good at making wrong look right and bad look innocent. Number 2, set priorities. If you feel you have some of the workaholic tendencies, what can you do to start changing your pattern away from it? Think about the things that bring you joy that are not work related. Maybe you enjoy a sport or a hobby, perhaps it's family time. Make a list of these things and mark them as a priority in your schedule. Make some of them non-negotiable so that it is harder to justify allowing them to fall lower on the priority list as our work tendencies start to creep up because they will try and suck you back in. It is easy to guilt ourselves into old patterns, especially when the little devil is in our ear condemning us for our efforts to set a balance and be present in our family life. He hates family and happiness. Don't give in to the negative talk and the feelings that attack your push to a healthier and better balanced life that is full of living for life, not just moving for a paycheck. Number 3, go over your finances. Are you living within your means? There is a tendency to increase our expenses as we increase our income, and unfortunately, that leaves us chained to our paychecks instead of giving us the freedom to have more life experiences. Anthony and I have made it so that our mortgage and living expenses can be mostly covered by one income. This means that any time I try and justify overworking, I cannot say we have bills to pay because the second income is extra for the most part, or currently our reno budget. Now, that does not mean we should be spending that income freely. I still believe that making extra mortgage payments and ensuring our debt is limited or non-existent is best. But I also believe things like travel and purchasing that item you have been eyeing for months are reasonable options for that side of the savings that's not for a rainy day. Sit and go over your bills and expenses and see where you can start making cuts so that you can reintroduce financial balance to your life. Perhaps that unused gym membership can go, or canceling the extra package of cable would allow you to invest both time and finances into an activity or vacation you've been wanting. If there is one thing my field has taught me is this: we are only guaranteed health and youth for today. Make the best of it. We do not know what will happen tomorrow or what our health will have to face. So putting off life experiences for later could very well mean never experiencing them at all. With love, Ashley.